Hi there. Welcome to LSB Feasters Radio Channel, where we keep great radio from the past alive. If you were born before 1970, there's a day I'm sure you will remember. December 8th, 1980. That was the day that we lost John Lennon. It was a sad day. I can still remember my mom crying, and radio stations had to break the news to the fans that John was gone. A lot of the people on the radio were in shock with this news, and they now have to relay it to the public, broadcast the news, and how we dealt with the passing of John Lennon. This recording features 77 WABC, the morning after John Lennon's passing. Dan Ingram is on the air, and it's just fascinating to hear how the radio station dealt with it. So here we are, going back to December 9th, 1980, and Dan Ingram on 77 WABC New York.
Okay, Dan Ingram's going to be coming up in about 6 minutes from right now here at New York's radio station. 77 WABC. Of course, the WABC News Department will keep you posted if any new developments, if anything new comes up regarding the John Lennon shooting. And that's it for me. I'll be back again tonight at midnight. Have yourself a good day. Hope it's a productive one. Thank you both for listening. And right now, the WABC News Update. Here's John Maher.
Good morning. John Lennon, a legend while he was alive, is dead. He was shot down for no apparent reason in front of his apartment house last night, the Dakota on Central Park West and 72nd Street.
John Lennon is dead at 40, just as he was beginning a new career. He was shot to death by Mark David Chapman of Hawaii. Nobody knows why. Ironically, Lennon was coming back home from putting the finishing touches on his new album. John?
Kathy, WABC News is informed that the man accused of murdering John Lennon, Mark David Chapman, is now at the main police headquarters building in One Police Plaza. He was rushed downtown from the West 82nd Street Station House. Chapman's described by one police officer as a wacko. Flatly, police in Honolulu say Chapman bought the gun used at Charter Arms 38 6 weeks ago in a gun shop only a block from the Honolulu police station. Chapman has no record in Hawaii. He's lived there since 1977. Police say he may have come from Alabama. WABC News Time 5:59. The weather after Joe Nolan with WABC Shadow Traffic Report.
Well, good morning, everybody, and thank you, John. If you're heading northbound on the New Jersey Turnpike on the eastern spur, the right lane is closed for construction, so that is shadow traffic for WABC New York. New York's radio station, and now here is Dan Ingram and the weather.
All right, sir. Thank you kindly.
Mm-hmm.
All right. You're kind of depressed, too, you sound like.
Yeah. I was young. It's funny, we were just talking about this about 2.5, 3 weeks ago. I was about 6 years old, like I said, and it was, I'll never forget it as long as I live. When they came here to the city, it was really like the first thing that I ever remember totally, you know.
Yeah.
And
what were you doing out there?
Where?
When you were at that particular time when they came to the city?
I lived, I didn't have anything. I mostly, and this is the truth, sat in front of the radio and listened to WABC at that point.
That's right.
And listened to you and your friends do what you did so well when they were in the city.
I don't know whether you remember it or not, but the Beatles were in the hotel, and Scott Muni and Cousin Bruce were over at the hotel with them, and I was in the studio. And Bruce hung a microphone out the window, and I don't know where this tape is. Somebody somewhere must have it. The Museum of Broadcasting, I know, has a copy of it, because they have mine. Howard Hoffman has time, but he has a copy. And what we did was we asked the folks out in the street, which was about 10,000 kids, to sing along with our jingles.
Mm-hmm.
And the reaction was rather strange, because a friend of mine was working for the New York Times at the time, and he shouldn't have been there, because the New York Times didn't cover any of that. They were their nose too high in the air to cover the Beatles. And he happened to be going by. He said the biggest problem was the cops were looking at each other in disbelief, because all of a sudden 10,000 kids would start singing, "Your world looks great with 77 WABC," and then they'd stop, and then they'd listen to their little transistors, and then they'd sing the jingle again. And somewhere is a tape of 10,000 kids singing along with the jingles. It's just unreal. But that was my own personal experience of that particular day, which was back in 1964, which is longer ago than I want to remember.
Yeah, I can remember. That was the first time my parents let me stay up past 7 o'clock.
Yeah?
Is when I watched them on the Ed Sullivan Show that night.
Oh, my goodness.
And it's just, it's amazing. You wonder.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
You just really have to wonder.
Well, all of a sudden, we're a little bit older. That's the problem, you know.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll check with you at 6:15.
Yes, sir.
I got the weather to do here. Mostly cloudy today with a chance of rain toward evening. Temperatures around 50. Periods of rain likely tonight, possibly mixed with snow before ending tomorrow morning. The low tonight 30 to 35. Partial clearing, turning colder tomorrow afternoon with a high of about 40. Friday, partly sunny, very cold. Chance of snow flurries on Friday, and it's going to be sunny and cold on Saturday, too, according to the long-range forecast. We got 47 cloudy WABC degrees in the Ingram thing. And how ironic that this was starting over.
Our life.
I guess I view this personally, but this has happened to me many times over the years, and it always hits me the first time I say it. That was the late John Lennon.
The Army announces college benefits of more than 20,000
through the holidays at Bamberger's.
Cloudy today with a chance of rain toward evening, high of about 50. Periods of rain likely tonight, possibly mixed with snow before ending tomorrow morning. Low tonight in the 30s, partial clearing, turning colder tomorrow afternoon with a high of about 40. The outlook for Thursday, partly sunny and very cold. It's 47 degrees. Let me take a quick check here. No, according to this is 63. That isn't right. This must be an old forecast. Now that's 10 p.m. We're not too terribly together this morning. Oh, yeah, it is. 47 degrees and cloudy at WABC.
Cook smarter with Soup Starter today.
Need a hot, hearty dinner, and you're in a hurry? At Sears.
Good nights for the kids, goodbyes for you.
It's 9 minutes past 6 at 77. WABC, New York's radio station. The thing about the Beatles that always struck me is that an awful lot of their music was just plain happy. Had a happy sound to it, regardless of the lyric content, like this one.
Can't buy me love.
The Beatles with the late John Lennon at 12 minutes past 6 on WABC. It's 47 and cloudy right now. I'll have the weather for you in just a minute.
Mr. Lee A. Iacocca, chairman, the new Chrysler Corporation.
When high interest rates keep America from buying the fuel-efficient cars it really needs, it's time to do something about it. Starting right now, when you buy a new 81 U.S.-built Chrysler, Plymouth, or Dodge passenger car on credit, you can deduct 6% from the full sticker price of the car, including options, because Chrysler thinks the prime rate is 6% too high.
That means once you've made your best deal, you get $325 to $1,000 direct from Chrysler, or you can apply it to your down payment. Now, that 6% will be adjusted up or down depending on a significant change in the prime interest rate. If you need a quality-built, fuel-efficient car, and high interest rates have kept you away, see your Dodge or Chrysler Plymouth dealer and get $325 to $1,000 in cash direct from Chrysler. See your dealer for details.
Chrysler can't lower the interest rate, but we can help you handle it. Now is the time to buy a new car and get a check from Chrysler to boot.
Thank you, Mr. I. Mostly cloudy today with a chance of rain toward evening, high of about 50 or so. Some rain likely tonight, possibly mixed with snow before ending tomorrow morning. Tonight, 30 to 35. Partial clearing, turning colder tomorrow afternoon, getting no higher than about 40. Thursday, partly sunny, very cold, down into the teens at night with some snow flurries overnight Friday, and then clearing up on the weekend for Saturday and Sunday. It's 47. It's cloudy at WABC.
Come taste the pleasure. Every glass you pour. Sophisticated. Appreciated. The proud taste of California. Inglenook.
Yes, Inglenook is the proud taste of California. Because ever since Captain Gustav Niebaum founded the Inglenook Vineyards over a century ago, Inglenook wine has always been known for its commitment to uncompromising taste. Come, experience the taste respected around the world. Inglenook.
Sophisticated, appreciated. The proud taste of California.
Inglenook Vineyards, Rutherford, Napa Valley, California.
Yes, thank you very large. It's time to check out traffic at, it's coming up to 6:15 on WABC. Joe Nolan with WABC Shadow Traffic. What's happening?
Well, troops, still at 10 if you're heading northbound on the FDR Drive, right around 96th Street. We have a disabled vehicle in the right lane. Again, please be very, very careful as you head up there. He is in a bad spot. Alternate side of the street parking in effect in all 5 boroughs this morning. So, again, you've got 45 minutes to get up and move it. And elsewhere, no real serious problems at all. Traffic moving right along that path. That bridge has been fixed, and everything should be rolling across there without much of a hassle this morning.
Yeah.
And down on the Victory Bridge, which is over Route 35, over the Raritan River. in New Jersey. That was open at about 6 o'clock for about 12 minutes. They just closed it, so you're going to have some slow traffic around there. So that is Shadow Traffic for WABC, and I am Joe Nolan.
I sincerely hope so. Otherwise, we've had an imposter in here. We'll catch you at 6:30.
Okay, Dan.
Okay, right now we got the weather in just a minute.
Welcome to Kentucky Fried Chicken. Can I take your order?
Right. Some chicken, please.
Yes, sir. We do chicken right at Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Well, then I guess I'll have some of those fixins, too. They look right good.
We not only do chicken right, we do all those delicious fixins right, too.
And I'd like my order right away, please.
Of course. We serve you right away at Kentucky Fried Chicken. Notice how fast your meal is ready and how clean our eating area is?
Yeah, you're right.
Everything's right, including the price, sir. You see, we can still give you real good, fresh, original recipe chicken dinner at a low price.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that.
No, sir. At Kentucky Fried Chicken, we try to do everything right, including our prices. That's why people say, it's so nice to be so good about the millions. Kentucky Fried Chicken. At Kentucky Fried Chicken, we do everything right.
And you're right, because this is the best chicken I ever had. Now, how do I get downtown?
At the corner, sir. Take a left.
Right.
Thank you very much. The weatherman says cloudy today with a chance of a rain shower or two towards evening. Temperatures around 50. Periods of rain likely tonight, mixed with snow before ending tomorrow. Tonight, 30 to 35. Partial clearing. Colder tomorrow afternoon. The high about 40 and then down into the teens overnight. Thursday, into the 20s, daytimes, teens at night. Same thing on Friday with a chance of snow flurries. Clear on Saturday for the weekend. It's 47. It's cloudy at WABC. We talked with Rick Sklar. Rick was the program manager here for many years while I was on in the afternoon, and we were having a whole lot of Beatle things happening. As a matter of fact, I remember one of the things that I walked into Rick's office one day and said, listen, they got so many hits on the chart. Why don't I start each half-hour segment of my show? We used to have news on 25 and 55 every hour, twice an hour. And I said, why don't we start every segment of my show with a couple of Beatles records? Because they had at one time 9 out of the top 10 records on our survey. And he said, yeah, why not? So we started every half hour of the show with a Beatles doubleheader. And I remember John Lennon, who happened to be in town, called Rick and thought that was a delightful idea for obvious reasons. And Rick evidently became rather close friends with John, and we were talking with him on the phone, and he was recounting a passage from a letter that John had written to Rick not too long ago.
Currently going through one of my 18-month or so retreats, a la primal therapy, meditations in the Himalayas, something I've been doing even as a child. Yoko's pregnancy, thank God, is going well and happens to coincide with my natural and instinctive hibernations. At the ripe old age of 34, I find myself going back to the age-old question, what the hell is going on? Why are we here? Followed closely by, am I doing what I really want to do or simply doing what I'm supposed to do? Anyway, I'm trying rather badly to explain the inexplicable. I don't think that this kind of introspection is the luxury of the artist, rich or poor. I just never believed in waiting till death's door before facing, or at least trying, the eternal mysteries. Lots of love to you, Sidell, Scott, and Holly. We love a boat ride, but the doctor says she has to keep off her feet. The baby's due in late October or early November. We've had so much trouble in the past. We're being super careful. John.
That's Rick Sklar in a letter he received 7 years ago from John Lennon. And I remember once seeing what they call a visual that John and Yoko recorded to go with this particular recording. It was a bit incongruous because the piano probably cost $100,000. The mansion that they filmed it in was probably a couple of $1 million, but it's even surrounded by that wealth. This thought from the late John Lennon. And yet, as I said, there was an exuberant side of the music of the Beatles. Some of the earlier stuff, like this one.
She loves you,
The Beatles music on WABC. I'm Dan Ingram. In a minute, we'll have the news for you.
It's the chance of a lifetime. China is coming to New York. For the first time ever, the People's Republic of China is sending an official exhibition to the United States. It will be here at the Coliseum from December 6th through the 21st. Don't miss the chance to sample traditional Chinese foods and see new products. Watch skilled craftsmen demonstrate their arts. Touch a piece of the Great Wall of China. Shop for jewelry, rugs, and hundreds of other items at a special friendship store. It's a real festival, Chinese style.
Get your tickets now at the New York Coliseum, any Bloomingdale's store or ticket charting outlet. Or you can charge your tickets on a major credit card by dialing 212-244-6239. That's 244-6239. The exhibition's official world carrier is Japan Airlines. It's time for the news with John Maher and, of course, the untimely passing of John Lennon. John?
Dan, if you're just awakening, you should know that Beatle John Lennon is dead. John Lennon died violently late last night, the victim of a man with a gun who waited for him outside his Manhattan apartment, the Dakota, at Central Park West and 72nd Street. Police say Chapman, the man described as David Chapman, described as a wacko. They say Chapman waited for Lennon and his wife Yoko Ono to return from a recording session. Chapman emptied his pistol at him at point-blank range. Lennon collapsed after staggering up a short flight of steps. Police rushed him to Roosevelt Hospital in a patrol car. ABC producer Alan Weiss just happened to be there when Lennon arrived and described how doctors worked frantically to save him.
Yoko Ono came in on the arms of a police officer. She stood outside. Inside, they had stripped John Lennon. There was blood all over his chest. I can't tell exactly what they were doing, but there were a number of doctors and nurses working on him.
Doctors later said John Lennon was hit at least 5 times. The damage to his body was so severe there was no hope of saving him. Chapman, one observer says, appears to be some kind of a groupie, an unemployed 25-year-old drifter who recently came to New York from Hawaii. WABC News Time 6:26. Kathleen Maloney will be here in a minute with more on the passing of John Lennon.
American Airlines offers more non-stops to the Pleasure Islands than any other airline. So if you have a pleasure...
Tennis, golf.
We have an island.
Dancing, dining.
Martinique.
Swimming, snorkeling.
Bermuda.
Sunbathing.
Aruba.
Surfing.
Trinidad. Tobago.
Fishing, shopping.
Barbados.
Sightseeing, shopping. Oh, I said that.
Curacao.
Art, culture.
Jamaica.
Sailing.
In fact, American flies to so many pleasure islands that you'll probably run out of pleasures before we run out of islands, like Puerto Rico, Guadalupe.
I like to swim and...
You said that. St. Martin, Haiti, Nassau.
That's in the Bahamas, huh?
I'm doing the islands, you're doing the pleasures.
Uh-huh.
St. Thomas, St. Croix.
Hiking? No, I give up.
The Dominican Republic?
Stop.
We're American Airlines, doing what we do best.
For details, call your travel agent.
In his usual outspoken style, John Lennon once said the Beatles were more popular than Jesus. And considering the impact they had on the era, he had a point. What we call the 60s really began in 1963 with the dawn of Beatlemania. The Beatles played music no one else was playing. In a way, no one else was playing it. They didn't even look like anyone else. When they appeared on the Ed Sullivan Show, I remember the comments of my parents and others about how horrible they looked with that long hair. Little did they all know how much longer hairstyles would get. John Lennon and Paul McCartney were the core of the Beatles. They collaborated on more hit songs than any other popular composers, but they had their own minds, and it came through loud and clear. McCartney usually wrote the pretty tunes. Lennon gave the band its hard edge, something very apparent in the Rubber Soul album. How did the Beatles get together? John and Paul first met at a church social. Paul went to school with George Harrison. Ringo Starr was not the first drummer. He joined the group later. John was once asked how the Beatles handled all the problems that had to crop up as their fame grew.
We usually just hung together somehow, you know, and there would always be somebody to lean on when there's 4 of you. You know, there'd always be somebody that would be together enough to sort of pull you through different phases of it.
Believe it or not, one problem John Lennon always anticipated was getting shot. That's what the Beatles' first manager, Alan Williams, tells us.
You know, John and, Mick Jagger have always had this fear. They've always said that the biggest scare was that they would, somebody would shoot them at one of their concerts. And yes, it happened this way when he was just returning home at night.
Yes, it happened last night. John Lennon, the soul of the Beatles, gunned down by a man police describe as a wacko. John?
Kathy, WABC newsman Gus Engelman is there. He says there were still about 100 people standing quietly outside Lennon's apartment house, some of them from as far as Pennsylvania, mourning his passing. Earlier today and late last night, there were crowds estimated at 1,000 to 1,500 people standing outside the Dakota. On the WABC scoreboard in Monday Night Football, Miami downed the New England Patriots in overtime 16-13. All the local teams had last night off. WABC News Time 6:29. The weather after Joe Nolan and Shadow Traffic.
Thank you, John. And we still have benign on the roadways. No real serious problems, tie-ups, or delays if you're heading northbound on the Brooklyn-Queens Expressway right around Queens Boulevard. The right and center lane is closed. This for construction. Should be gone momentarily if it isn't already. If you're heading southbound on the BQE, we want you to watch out for a disabled vehicle in the right lane right around Tillery Street. Only a minor problem. It is south of the Kosciuszko, as I'm sure you know if you drive that way. Kosciuszko, I'm sorry. And we've got ourselves, again, a minor delay going by there. Northbound on the Jersey Turnpike, the eastern spur, the right lane is closed between 15E and 16E. Again, there's going to be a reduction of speed there. So what you've got to do is slow down because the Jersey State Troopers are certainly going to give you a ticket if you speed through that. So that's just about it. That's WABC Shadow Traffic, and now here's Dan Ingram in the weather.
Okay, Joe, thank you. We'll catch you at 45.
All righty.
Weatherman says mostly cloudy today with a chance of some rain toward evening, high of about 50. Periods of rain likely tonight, possibly mixed with snow before ending tomorrow morning. Tonight about 30 to 35, and then partial clearing, colder tomorrow afternoon. The high will be about 40. And then temperatures will drop. The outlook for Thursday, partly sunny and very cold. Friday, we may have some snow flurries, according to the weatherman, and then clearing and colder on Saturday and Sunday. Right now, it's 47. It's cloudy at WABC.
77 WABC.
It's 29 minutes before 7 o'clock, and the late John Lennon. And John had a philosophy and never hesitated putting it in song like this. Recorded in a hotel room in Canada in 1971. What a revolutionary idea. Power to the people. That really shook up a lot of people in those days, and I guess it still does to a certain extent. When you think about it, it's kind of a simple idea. It makes a lot of sense. One of the tunes written and performed by the late John Lennon. We'll have WABC News Team coverage about the story, the life, and now the death of John Lennon right here on WABC all morning long. It's 26 minutes before 7 o'clock. We'll check the weather for you in just a minute.
He touched me. He put his hand near mine and then he touched me.
Touch her with Chantilly, and suddenly nothing is the same.
When he touched me, a sparkle, a glow.
Touch her with Chantilly by Hoobigone. Touch her with Chantilly, perfume, spray mist, dusting powder by Hoobigone.
It's 24 before 7 on WABC. The weatherman says mostly cloudy today. Chance of rain toward evening. Temperatures getting up about 50 or so. Periods of rain likely tonight, maybe mixed with some snow, especially inland before it ends tomorrow morning. Tonight, about 30 to 35. Partial clearing and then colder tomorrow afternoon, about 40. Thursday, partly sunny, very cold. Maybe some flurries Friday and continued very cold through the weekend. It's 47 and cloudy right now. I want to talk to you about an extraordinary new spaghetti. They really have done something new to spaghetti. The Prince Company has come up with their high-protein spaghetti we've been telling you about. It's called Prince Superoni. Yeah, Prince cut down on the carbohydrates, which should be good news to dieters. No more empty calories. And in their place, Prince has added more protein. That's right. Matter of fact, Prince Superoni has 41% more protein than hamburger, which is why the U.S. government has certified Prince Superoni as a meat alternative. Well, now you can cut down on your meat bills without sacrificing nutrition. Prince Superoni gives you more protein for less money. It's that simple. So from now on, instead of serving pasta just for fun, why don't you serve it for better nutrition, too? Prince makes a full line of Superoni varieties, which means you can even make favorites like macaroni salad with Superoni. The Prince Company calls their new high-protein pasta a superior alternative with superior economy. And with 41% more protein than hamburger, you're going to call Superoni fantastic. Remember the name Prince Superoni. It's something just a little bit better, which is a nice thing. On this morning, the day after the untimely end of John Lennon's life, I go back specifically back to 1964. And in those days, it was kind of rock music was really put down. It was, quote the phrase of the time, animal music. That's what it was really just called back in the 50s and especially into the 60s. And I worked in radio in those days right here on WABC, and we had a hard time because we had an awful lot of people listening to radio, but the folks who bought commercial time, they didn't want to be associated with that. They thought, gee, we're running an airline. Why should we have advertisement on your show? Well, it turns out there were an awful lot of other people, aside from young people, who listen to the radio, as we knew then and know now, because you're listening and you were listening then, and your parents were probably. A lot of people were amazed to find out that the Beatles could sing music other than just plain old rock and roll, and this was one of the tunes in one of their first albums that opened up their noses of a lot of people about how well they could do it.
As I write this letter, I love you.
I believe that was that, who was the guy who wrote 76 Trombones, Music Man? Can't remember. Wasn't that one of his tunes? You don't remember. I don't remember either, frankly. Meredith Willson, right. I believe that was his, but I'm sorry I can't remember. It's 20 minutes before 7 o'clock. Gus Engelman's been out all night long in the story. We'll be talking to Gus in just a couple minutes.
You know the song we sing, and
Till There Was You is the tune I had in mind. Frankly, is what I was thinking about, the Meredith Willson tune. But they did an awful lot of ballads and things like that most people didn't think rock singers can do, other than rock singers who sang like the Ink Spots, which is what Elvis Presley did in the decade prior to that. The Beatles proved that they knew what they were doing, and they were good musicians, too. We'll be talking with Gus Engelman in just 1 minute.
Beneficial. You're good for more. It's great to know. You're good for more.
Here's important news, New Yorkers. Beneficial now makes personal loans up to $4,000. Yes, $4,000. More than ever before in New York. It's cash to do important things that need doing, just in time for the holidays. Whether it's fixing up the house, paying important expenses, or cleaning up bills, Beneficial wants to help and take longer to pay than ever before with more convenient monthly payments. If extra cash right now can get you going on important things you want to do, phone Beneficial right now. Apply for the full amount you have in mind. Now up to $4,000. New York, you're good for more at Beneficial. Beneficial Finance.
At Beneficial. You're good for
If you're within the sound of my voice, there's a Beneficial Finance System office near you right now, making personal loans up to $4,000 in New York. 55 offices here in New York. See the white pages of your phone book for the Beneficial office right near you. It's 17 minutes before 7 o'clock. Cloudy today, chance of rain toward evening. It's 47, it's cloudy, and it's kind of a grim morning after the passing of John Lennon. And Gus Engelman's been on the story all night. You've been over at the Dakota, Gus. What's been happening there all night long?
Dan, an incredible scene outside that apartment building where John Lennon lived. Still over 100 people gathered outside the building, many of them there all night, an all-night vigil. They brought blankets. They all have radios, listening to Beatle tunes all night long, many of them tuned to our station, listening to the tribute that we've had all night to John Lennon. I spoke to a couple from Reading, Pennsylvania. They drove all night to arrive at that building, and I asked them why. And they said this was the only way they could show the love and respect that they had for John Lennon, what his music meant to their lives. They couldn't sleep. They were watching television when the news came over of his death, and they just got into their cars, and they just drove to the building. They had to.
Just had to come and just be there, I guess, to show how they felt. It's amazing how the music of John Lennon touched people. A lot of folks, of course, as I said before, put down so-called rock music, and yet there was a quality to the man that was so very human that I know of an awful lot of people who have been touched by various songs he's written, and I imagine that when you get touched by a song, it's a very personal experience. I can understand why people would drive all the way from Pennsylvania just to stand there and just stand.
True, and
what has happened now, incidentally, and not so incidentally, with this person, this deranged person who has invaded all our lives, I guess? Do they have any reason why?
That's the puzzling question, Dan. Why? What was the motive? What was the reason? And if police know, they still haven't told us. They said when they brought him back to the station house that he was coherent, but he did make a statement. So they may have an admission, a confession, but they're not telling us yet why he did it.
As I understand it, he emptied his gun into John Lennon and then just stood there.
Lying in wait, just like an like an assassin. In fact, I spoke to one of the police who was first on the scene when he was grabbed, apprehended by police, and they said the suspect, Mark David Chapman, he was just standing there with a sort of a crazy smile on his face, as if he was just detached from all reality, just waiting to be apprehended, and not saying anything, not babbling, not saying a word, just with his sort of like his hands outstretched, waiting for the police to grab him.
Just waiting for the cuffs.
Just incredible. And the other bizarre aspect to this story, Dan, as we know, is that He approached John Lennon about 6 hours before he killed him, or is accused of killing him. At 5 o'clock last night, when Lennon left the apartment to go to that recording session, according to police, he actually approached him and asked for his autograph. And John Lennon gave him his autograph. So he was within, 2 feet of John Lennon then. And after John Lennon left to go to that recording session, he just hung around the building for another 6 hours, lying in wait with that gun, with that .38, waiting for him to get out of the car. And when he got out of the car, he simply said from the shadows, "Mr. Lennon, Mr. Lennon." John turned around, and then he fired what we now know probably 5 shots into his body. Never had a chance.
I'm not paranoid, but I have had situations in which people have waited outside the ABC building. If you remember, about a year ago, there was a lady who came into our lobby.
Yes.
And asked for me. And George Michael, who was working here at the time, was now working in Washington, went down to say, Mr. Ingram's already left. And she reached into her purse, at which time George, the guard, and the engineer who went down with him all went in different directions behind desks and around walls. She ran away and was never heard of since, except that she showed up a week later. We waited outside all afternoon, all Saturday while I was on the air. And you can't help but wonder where it is. Where's the breaking point? What snaps? What goes on in the mind of kind of a person who would perhaps carry a gun around for 6 hours, 6 weeks, or whatever, just for the purpose of killing someone? It's a little frightening, isn't it?
Yes, and you can't help but wondering, even if Lennon had protection, a bodyguard,
what good
would it have done any good?
No.
If somebody's lying in wait in the shadows with a gun, determined to kill somebody, just firing away as we now know he did, even if he had a bodyguard, he probably would have killed the bodyguard too. Just an insane thing.
Yeah. Thank you, Gus. Appreciate it. We'll be talking with you more, and we'll have more WABC News Team coverage coming up on WABC. Right now, it's time to check the traffic with Joe Nolan at WABC Shadow Traffic.
It just seems, I don't know.
I know what you mean.
Like it really doesn't matter what the traffic is doing, sort of.
Well, it does. Yeah, one of the things you have to do is go on, even though you might be personally touched. And one of the things practically you have to do is get to work.
So true. And we have a 9 inbound Grand Central Parkway is slow in 168th Street. Okay, past LaGuardia. Alternate side of the street parking in effect in all 5 boroughs. I'm Joe Nolan with WABC Shadow Traffic.
Thank you, Joe. We'll have the weather coming up in just a minute.
It's the chance of a lifetime. China is coming to New York. For the first time ever, the People's Republic of China is sending an official exhibition to the United States. It will be here at the Coliseum from December 6th through the 21st. Don't miss the chance to sample traditional Chinese foods and see new products. Watch skilled craftsmen demonstrate their arts. Touch a piece of the Great Wall of China. Shop for jewelry, rugs, and hundreds of other items at a special friendship store. It's a real festival, Chinese style.
Right. I am in this. Get your tickets now at the New York Coliseum, any Bloomingdale store or Ticketron outlet, or charge your tickets on a major credit card by dialing 212-244-6239. That's 244-6239. The exhibition's official world carrier is Japan Airlines. Weatherman says cloudy today, rain toward evening, high of about 50, rain likely tonight, maybe mixed with snow before it ends tomorrow morning, partial clearing and colder tomorrow right through the rest of the weekend. It's 47 and cloudy at WABC, and the thing that always amazed me about the Beatles, especially John Lennon's tunes, are the unusual areas. Up until that time, most popular music had been Moon, June, Spoon, Crone, and I Love You, and You Love Me, and Let's Get Married, and all that. But he wrote about life, and he once wrote about a Salvation Army home. It was called Strawberry Fields, and this was the tune. Strawberry Fields Forever on WABC. Song about a home for kids, which I guess starts to indicate some of the breadth and scope of the music of Lennon and McCartney. We have more WABC News Team coverage coming up in just a minute.
Deck the halls with D'Agostino. Happy turkey, happy sirloin, and ham. All the happy things that we know. Happy dairy, happy veggies, and lamb. Happy fruit, hearty cheese, frozen foods sure to please. Deck the halls with D'Agostino. Happiness
We have some holiday happiness for weary New Yorkers. Dinner in with a festive beef roast right out of an English classic. It's a D'Agostino classic, really. USDA choice bottom round. A hearty, tender, beefy delight. $1.99 a pound. If there's no D'Agostino near you, beat your breast. Wait till Sunday and visit one of Manhattan's Gala supermarkets. They're open Sunday 9 to 6 with a delicious lineup of holiday treats, and they have bottom round beef roast at $1.99 a pound. All this week, including Sunday.
So please, Mr. D'Agostino, move closer to me.
It's time for more news on WABC and the story of the untimely passing of John Lennon. John Maher has that for us.
Dan, you wonder why some superstars stay away from the public that made them, why some seem to hide behind walls and rent-a-cops. It's because of the tiny percentage of wackos who, for one reason or none, want to do them harm. John Lennon didn't hide. Beatle John Lennon died late last night, the victim of what one New York City police official calls a wacko. Here's more from WABC's Kathleen Maloney.
John, the suspect in custody is 25-year-old Mark David Chapman of Honolulu. He's now at police headquarters for booking. The shooting came around 11 last night. The way police tell it, Chapman was waiting for Lennon when he walked into the courtyard of the Dakota on West 72nd Street. Witnesses say he called out, "Mr. Lennon," then crouched in a military stance and fired 5 to 7 shots from a .38 caliber pistol. He dropped the gun and waited for police to arrive, which they did very quickly. Tom O'Leary also got there in record time after he heard the gunshots. He describes how the gunman looked.
The expression on his face was kind of a silly grin, and he was just kind of standing there, and the cops were just pushing him back and pushing him back. He not insinuating he was trying to get away, but they were just making sure that he was secure at that place. He seemed like he was in another world. I think he must have been a nut. I never seen him around here before. I went back.
I saw him here.
Did you hear what he said? You did see him.
I didn't see what happened, but I saw him here all week. As the woman at the end of that cart says, Chapman had been seen hanging around Lennon's apartment house for several days. Police say Chapman arrived in New York from Honolulu a week ago. He reportedly got Lennon to autograph a copy of his latest album, Double Fantasy, only hours before the fatal shooting. WABC News Time, 6:56. It's 44 degrees and cloudy in New York. More on the Lennon story coming up.
American Airlines offers more non-stops to the Pleasure Islands than any other airline. So if you have a pleasure...
Tennis, golf.
We have an island.
Dancing, dining.
Martinique.
Swimming, snorkeling.
Bermuda.
Sunbathing.
Aruba.
Surfing.
Trinidad. Tobago.
Fishing, shopping.
Barbados.
Sightseeing, shopping. Oh, I said that.
Curacao.
Art, culture.
Jamaica.
Sailing.
In fact, American flies to so many pleasure islands that you'll probably run out of pleasures before we run out of islands. Like Puerto Rico, Guadalupe.
I like to swim and...
You said that. St. Martin, Haiti, Nassau.
That's in the Bahamas, huh?
I'm doing the islands, you're doing the pleasures.
Uh-huh.
St. Thomas, St. Croix.
Hiking? No, I give up.
The Dominican Republic?
Stop.
We're American Airlines, doing what we do best.
For details, call your travel agent.
John's wife, Yoko Ono, was at his side when the bullets hit, and she stayed by his side as police carried him into a squad car and raced to Roosevelt Hospital. All along the way, Yoko screaming, "Tell me it isn't true. Tell me he's all right." We have no official reaction from any of the Beatles, but a spokesman for Paul McCartney says John's death came as a deep, deep shock. It came that way to Paul's brother Michael, too.
I was in bed at 5:10, and it's like a bullet through the brain. To tell you the truth, it's a hell of a shock.
The shock is being felt all around the world. Switchboards at radio stations everywhere, a solid mass of lights as the news got out. Record stores on the West Coast were still open when it happened. Store managers say there was a run on Beatle albums. Most of the customers described as downcast. John?
Kathy, we don't yet much know about Mark Chapman. We do know that the chief of detectives, James Sullivan, as we reported earlier, describes him as a wacko. Chapman is 5'11". Honolulu police say he bought the .38 caliber gun he allegedly used to shoot John Lennon 6 weeks ago in a gun shop a block from the Honolulu police station. How Chapman brought the gun to New York, that's a question for which we do not yet have an answer. Chapman, who had no police record in Hawaii, had reportedly lived there since 1977 and may have come from Alabama. In other news, briefly, U.S. officials now say they don't think a Soviet invasion of Poland is imminent. However, they once again warn against any Russian military moves. Ronald Reagan's here in New York City and acknowledging slow process in choosing a cabinet. Mr. Reagan says financial disclosure laws for top nominees.
That's WABC Shadow Traffic for WABC New York, New York's radio station. And now here is Dan Ingram in the weather.
Thank you, Joe. We'll catch you at 7:15.
Okay.
Weatherman says mostly cloudy today with a chance of rain toward evening. High of about 50 or so. Periods of rain likely tonight, maybe mixed with snow before ending tomorrow morning. Tonight's low will be around 30 or so. Partly cloudy. Turning colder tomorrow afternoon. The high will be 40 and then plummeting through the basement. Temperatures getting down into the teens by Thursday morning and staying cold through the weekend with a chance of snow flurries on Friday. Right now at 7 o'clock, I'm Dan Ingram. Good morning to you.
Dan Ingram, start your morning on WABC.
All You Need Is Love, the Beatles. Had a little bit of everything on that record, all the way from Glenn Miller's saxophones in the mood to a reprise of their own She Loves You to Green Sleeves, and also the voices, in addition to the Beatles, of Mick Jagger, Keith Moon, Marianne Faithfull, Jane Asher, Patty Boyd, Graham Nash. It was kind of a love thing. 4 minutes past 7 o'clock. This morning we were commenting on John Lennon, 1940 to 1980. We'll have more and more team coverage on WABC.
There's a fragrance that's here today, and they call it Charlie. A different fragrance that thinks your way, yeah, they call it Charlie. Kinda young, kinda nice, Charlie. Kinda free, kinda wow, Charlie. Kinda fragrance that's gonna stay, and it's here now. Charlie, ba-doo-ba-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo.
Now the world belongs to Charlie by Revlon. Come to find the beautiful fragrance of Jean II. Sensual, but not too far from innocence. Jean II, the beautiful fragrance. Sensual, but not too far from innocence. Jean II from Revlon. Wear it and be wonderful.
Celebrate Christmas with the fragrances of Charlie and John II from Revlon. Come and find Charlie and John II at Abraham and Strauss. WABC keeps you informed of the latest traffic conditions with Shadow Traffic. Weekday mornings with me, Dan Ingram. Any afternoon with Bob Cruz. Shadow Traffic brought to you in part by A&P. For fresh produce that's the pick of the world's crop, visit the farm at A&P, where you'll always find fruits and vegetables priced to save you money. You get your produce fresh off the farm from A&P. 6 minutes past 7, the man says cloudy today, rain toward evening, maybe mixed with snow before it ends tomorrow morning.
If your eyes can abide the sight of him, if your mind can endure the terror of him, if your heart can withstand the shock of him, then and only then do you dare come face to face with Frankenstein's creature. But be warned, no motion picture screen will shield you, no television screen will protect you. Frankenstein is alive. On stage at the Palace Theater. For tickets, call charge at 944-9300. Remember, you've been warned.
44 degrees and partly cloudy at WABC. I'm Dan Ingram on this, good grief, it's a Tuesday morning, isn't it? The 9th day of December, 1980. At 7 minutes past 7 o'clock, and on this day of mourning for John Lennon, who, if you just woke up and don't know it, passed away untimely, was murdered last night. One of the tunes that always meant something in my life, and I think if you listen to the lyrics, you'll understand why. If you listen to a disc jockey who gets up early in the morning, for one thing, or thinks about how your life is going along as you continue on year after year in this business, this tune meant a lot to me and still does. The Beatles, way back when, and Here Comes the Sun. And it's all right. It's an interesting philosophy. Well, they had an incredible effect on the lives of more people, I guess, than any other particular group or singer in the history of mankind. They said that up until that time, more people had heard the voice of Bing Crosby than any other living human being, but I'm sure that's been surpassed by the Beatles, individually and collectively, no doubt. It's 11 minutes past 7 o'clock, and if you were up just about a half hour ago, you heard me reminiscing about a particular day at the Warwick when we had a whole crowd, 10,000 people out in the street, an awful lot of people out there, and we had them sing along with our jingles. And they are searching through the archives to find the tape right now. And as soon as they get it together, we'll get it on for you.
There's only one place on Earth with the thrill of sheer excitement and dazzling spectacle under one roof. Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus. And this year's 110th edition is totally new. A three-ring, $3 million extravaganza. Acrobatic thrills, clownish spills, and the all-new spectacle of the world's first circus in space. The greatest entertainment value in America is Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus.
Performances now through Sunday, December 14th at Nassau Coliseum. Tickets at Ticketron and the Coliseum box office.
The Army announces college benefits of more than $20,000. If you join the Army for 3 years, you could accumulate an education fund worth $20,100. 2 years could get you as much as $15,200. Add in the wealth of Army experience, and it's hard to think of a better place to prepare for college. Only the Army has these generous benefits, and only certain parts of the country are eligible for them. See your Army recruiter for details. The number's in the yellow pages. This message paid for by the U.S. Army.
Mostly clouded today with a chance of rain toward evening. Temperatures getting up to about 50. Periods of rain likely tonight, possibly mixed with snow before ending tomorrow morning. Low tonight, 30 to 35. Partial clearing, turning colder tomorrow afternoon with a high of about 40. And the outlook for Thursday, partly sunny and very cold. Temperatures really dropping down into the teens by Thursday. Chance of some snow flurries on Friday and clearing for a sunny and cold weekend. It's 44 and partly cloudy at WABC. We found that tape of the Beatles. We'll have it coming up in just a minute.
All right. I'm butter on a baked potato.
Okay.
Ooh, ah. Now, you be margarine on a baked potato.
Ooh, ah?
No way. Because only butter is truly ooh on hot vegetables or fresh rolls. Because only butter comes from nature. You see, butter is made from nature's own fresh milk, not man-made chemicals or oils.
Which is why it tastes so ah.
Right. So some margarines may claim they taste like butter.
But butter will never claim it tastes like margarine.
And our sponsor?
American Dairy Association.
Ooh.
Discover quality.
And discover great value, too, at Ben Franklin. Fisher-Price has perfect Christmas gifts for your children's make-believe play. Get the Fisher-Price medical kit for your budding doctors and nurses, and the Fisher-Price kitchen set for lots of pretend dinner parties. Both at participating Ben Franklin stores.
Discover Ben Franklin, where quality is right at home.
I remember it like it was yesterday, and I remember Sid Bernstein. We were talking with him before on the phone overnight here at WABC. Set up an interview with Bruce Morrow and the Beatles and Scott Muni, and they were in the Warwick Hotel, and Sid reminisced about it just a little while ago.
I remember when the Beatles were at the Warwick getting ready to do Shea Stadium in 65. Rick Sklar and Bruce Morrow asking me to arrange an interview, an exclusive interview for your radio network, which I did because Rick Sklar and Bruce Morrow have been very, very friendly and helpful to me in my early career. And arranging this interview in their room in their suite at the Warwick. That memory is an exciting one and one that, you know, I'd forgotten for a moment, but you just reminded me about ABC and that exclusive radio interview back in 64, actually 65.
Well, we do remember that particularly well because while Bruce and Rick were in the studio, in the hotel, I was back in the studio, and we had a three-way conversation. And during the course of that time, Bruce thought it might be interesting to hang a microphone out the window and get some crowd reaction. There were 10,000 people, young people, out in the street. And I remember that the thing that was most disturbing and most interesting was the fact that the police couldn't understand why all of a sudden the kids were singing along with the jingles. Police didn't have transistor radios at their ear like the kids did, and this is the way it sounded on the air.
And while you're in such a great mood, while that crowd is in such a great mood, Big Dan, out there on Park Avenue, and we dearly love them.
Yeah.
Scotzo's here with Cousin Brucey, and Dan, you're right there. Let's have a little sing-along with all the crowd out there. Everybody stand by. We want you to sing along to a few of our All-American jingles. Let's live it up.
All right, can I sing along with the one about the team first? We all ready?
Let's do the team. Everybody stand by and listen and sing along to our team jingle.
All right, here we go. Sing along.
The greatest team in the world. And 77 WABC All-American.
That's pretty good. You think they could do it a little louder this time if we play a different jingle for them?
Yeah, they'll try it again. They're great. We love them.
Let's go with another jingle.
Let's go with another one, Dan.
Your
almost good enough. One more time with another jingle. One more time with another jingle, all right? Here we go. This time real big. Let's hear it now.
Let's swing with the All-Americans on 77 WABC.
I think that deserves a Beatles record, right? Okay, let's go with Beatles music. Remember, Beethoven, go! And so it went on that afternoon. I don't know whether you were there or listening on the radio, but I was sitting in the studio, and it was absolutely incredible. It was one of those things you remember all your life. We have more Beatles music coming up on the station with the jingles.
The best music, WABC.
Starting my new job on Monday morning. Hope I'm gonna make it to the top. Maxwell House will get my morning going with a taste that's good to the last drop. Maxwell House is good to the last drop. Maxwell House is good to the last drop. Maxwell House.
Get your mornings going with a great taste of Maxwell House coffee. It's coffee you can count on. Cup after cup, morning after morning. Always good to the last drop.
Maxwell House is good going. Good to the last drop. Maxwell House. Good to the last drop. Maxwell House.
Yeah, we had a wonderful time that day, and the Beatles touched many topics, even tangentially or not so tangentially, depending on whether or not you really listen to the lyrics, touched on this topic. No, it was not about LSD. No, I'm sorry, you may have thought that. It was about a time when Julian Lennon, John's son, came home. He had drawn a picture of his girlfriend, Lucy, his little schoolmate, Lucy, and said, "This is Lucy in the sky with diamonds," and that's where it came from. It was not about what you thought it was about. John also wrote a tune, which eventually became a tune about my daughter, and this is the tune. We just got word from Joe Nolan that there is quite a crowd at 71st and Central Park West, and the police are now asking people to please stay away from the Dakota, John Lennon's home, because it's causing a traffic problem. And so it goes on this day. We have more team coverage this morning with John Maher. What's the latest development, John?
Dan, millions of us are in shock this morning to the passing of John Lennon, who's often been described as the most controversial, the most outspoken, and the most politically aware of the Beatles. By now, you probably know that John Lennon was shot late last night while his horrified wife, Yoko Ono, stood helplessly by. He was attacked in front of his apartment house, the Dakota, on Central Park West by a man police identified as 25-year-old David Chapman of Hawaii. Hit 5 times, Lennon was dead on arrival at Roosevelt Hospital. Doctors could do little. When word of the death got out, a crowd of more than 1,000 people gathered outside the Dakota. This morning, the crowd has dwindled to a little more than 100 mourners. WABC newsman Gus Engelman listened to an impromptu song among the crowd. There were lots of tears among the crowd of mourners outside the Dakota. Gus found one Lennon fan, Bob Slayman, who'd driven all night from Reading, Pennsylvania, after hearing John Lennon was dead.
We just got here now. We left around midnight. And, man, we were watching Monday Night Football, and, like, me and him bummed out so bad we couldn't believe it.
I mean, as soon as you got the news, you heard the news, why did you want to come?
Because John Lennon is the greatest. He lives. John Lennon will live forever. He will, honestly. He didn't deserve it. I wish that guy who shot him was on the street right now.
Police say the man accused of murdering John Lennon is under tight security this morning. David Chapman will be arraigned on a murder charge sometime this afternoon. Chapman, an unemployed former resident of Hawaii, reportedly bought the .38 caliber pistol allegedly used in the shooting in Honolulu about 6 weeks ago. He'd been staying at the Sheraton Center Hotel. Police presumably are going over that room with a fine-tooth comb this morning looking for clues. In a minute, WABC's Kathleen Maloney will be back with the story of the stunned world reaction to the death of John Lennon.
When I get claustrophobic, I can get on a plane, or go on a boat. I can actually I can go to Hawaii. Leon didn't even...
American Airlines offers more non-stops to the Pleasure Islands than any other airline. So if you have a pleasure...
Tennis, golf,
We have an island.
Dancing, dining,
Martinique,
swimming, snorkeling,
Bermuda,
sunbathing,
Aruba,
surfing,
Trinidad, Tobago,
fishing, shopping,
Barbados,
sightseeing, shopping. Oh, I said that.
Curacao,
Art, culture.
Jamaica.
Sailing.
In fact, American flies to so many pleasure islands that you'll probably run out of pleasures before we run out of islands. Like Puerto Rico, Guadalupe.
I like to swim and,
You said that. St. Martin, Haiti, Nassau.
That's in the Bahamas, huh?
I'm doing the islands, you're doing the pleasures.
Uh-huh.
St. Thomas, St. Croix.
Hiking? No, I give up.
The Dominican Republic.
Stop.
We're American Airlines, doing what we do best.
For details, call your travel agent.
Like millions of fans all over the world, the former Beatles are said to be in shock over the death of John Lennon. Paul McCartney is shut away at his farmhouse in Sussex, England, and is refusing to see anyone. His production company says Paul is in deep, deep shock. A spokesman for Ringo Starr's record company says the Beatles' former drummer has broken off a vacation to fly to the U.S. Ringo is described as extremely shocked and doesn't want to say any more. The fourth member of the Beatles, George Harrison, is also reported to be greatly upset. He's canceled a recording session planned for today. For John Lennon's close friends, it's more disbelief than shock. Here's one of them, Mai Ping.
I was sitting with a friend, and we were just going through some things, helping her unpack, when I heard it on the radio. At first I thought it was a joke. Turned on the radio even louder. And my fears started to really get the better of me. And finally I started making calls, and I found out it was real. I couldn't believe it. I just couldn't believe it.
Many people couldn't understand why John Lennon wanted to live in New York City. Certainly, there are safer places. Well, Lennon always did what he wanted to do for whatever reasons. They didn't always make sense to us or even to those close to him. Take, for example, John's decision to remain in the U.S.
I've said this many, many times. I have a love for the country, but simply, if it had been 2,000 years ago, we'd have all wanted to live in Rome. This is Rome, and I don't want to live in the hills. This is where the action is, as they say in France.
Lennon had a tough fight with immigration officials to stay here. In 1972, our government began proceedings to deport him and Yoko because of drug charges against them in Britain. But the Lennons won, and here's how a happy John reacted.
When I get claustrophobic, I can get on a plane, or go on a boat. I can actually know I can go to Hawaii. Leon didn't even let me go to Hawaii. He said it went over the water. And I'd always be frightened that I'd get on a plane to go to L.A. and it would get snowed out in Toronto, and I'd be saying, I'm not getting off the plane. And I was, paranoid about traveling.
Well, the traveling is over, and it's tough news to take. John Lennon, dead at 40. John?
On the WABC scoreboard in Monday Night Football, Miami down New England in overtime 16-13. All the local teams had the night off. WABC News Time 7:29. The weather after Joe Nolan and shadow traffic.
Thank you, John. And we have about an 8 out there this morning, friends. Very, very good. No real major delays throughout the area. A lot better than normal. Northbound Cross Island Parkway, sluggish from the Long Island Expressway up to Northern Boulevard, averaging about 15 miles an hour. The Interborough Parkway westbound is heavy from Kew Gardens to Metropolitan Avenue. This because of a disabled vehicle in the right lane. The westbound Grand Central is heavy from the Cross Island to 168th Street. And then again, we're heavy right around Kew Gardens. Again, that because of the problem on the Interborough. The inbound LIE is slow from the Fairgrounds to the Tanks, averaging about 20 miles an hour. Harlem River Drive FDR combination southbound extra heavy from the 130s down to 72nd Street, a disabled vehicle in the right lane. The West Side Highway heavy approaching the construction in the 150s. The inbound Gowanus as a disabled tractor trailer in the right lane in the area of 65th Street. We're heavy for more than a mile. George Washington Bridge along with the Lincoln Tunnel have about 15-minute delays. The Holland about 10. New Jersey Transit 618 Bayhead to New York train due at 8:24 is 10 minutes late. And Conrail has general delays of 15-minute delays on the New Haven division. I'm Joe Nolan with WABC Shadow Traffic, and now here's Dan Ingram in the weather.
Thank you, sir. We'll catch you at 45.
Yes, sir.
All righty. Mostly cloudy today with a chance of rain toward evening. High of about 50. Periods of rain likely tonight, possibly mixed with snow before ending tomorrow morning. Tonight, 30 to 35. Partial clearing, turning colder tomorrow afternoon with a high of around 40. Thursday, partly sunny, very cold, into the teens by morning. Chance of snow flurries on Friday, clearing for a very cold weekend. It's 44. It's partly cloudy. I'm Dan Ingram. Good morning to you.
The best music, WABC.
John Lennon, 1940 to 1980. I'm Dan Ingram. weekend. It's 26 minutes before 8 o'clock on this Tuesday morning, 12/9/80 on WABC. I'm Dan Ingram, and this is the day we are talking about the late John Lennon. We'll have more team coverage coming up on WABC. Right now, these words at 26 minutes before 8 o'clock.
If you're in the mood for great Italian food, I want to tell you about a fantastic restaurant. Not only is the food out of this world, but the prices are unbelievable. Picture this, manicotti made with golden macaroni and stuffed with ricotta cheese. Or lasagna bursting with cheese and tomato sauce and topped with mozzarella. Or how about fettuccine Alfredo, served the same way it's served in Rome, swimming in butter and cream. If you like baked ziti, they make it casserole style and garnish it with a zesty sauce. And their stuffed shells, the best you've ever tasted. Where is this great Italian restaurant? In your grocer's freezer, because that's where you'll find all the ranzoni frozen entrees I just described. The ranzonis make their dishes every bit as good as the ones you get in a fine Italian restaurant. But when the ranzonis cook for you, it only costs about 1/3 the price. Ranzoni, the great Italian restaurant that's in your grocer's freezer. No reservation required.
Remember, ranzoni frozen entrees are made with something no other frozen Italian entrees have. Ranzoni premium pasta. 25 minutes before 8 o'clock, the man says cloudy today. Maybe some rain toward evening, about 50 degrees. Periods of rain tonight, maybe mixed with snow before it ends tomorrow morning. Tonight about 30 to 35. Tomorrow about 40, and then the temperatures drop into the basement, down into the teens for Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. It's 44 and partly cloudy at WABC.
It's the chance of a lifetime. China is coming to New York. For the first time ever, the People's Republic of China is sending an official exhibition to the United States. It will be here at the Coliseum from December 6th through the 21st. Don't miss the chance to sample traditional Chinese foods and see new products. Watch skilled craftsmen demonstrate their arts. Touch a piece of the Great Wall of China. Shop for jewelry, rugs, and hundreds of other items at a special friendship store. It's a real festival, Chinese style.
Thank you very much, sir. Get your tickets now at the New York Coliseum, any Bloomingdale store or Ticketron outlet, or you can charge your tickets on a major credit card. You dial 212-244-6239. That's 244-6239. The exhibition's official world carrier is Japan Airlines. It's 24 minutes before 8 o'clock. And one of the things that seemed to preoccupy Mr. Lennon throughout his writing career, at least one of the recurrent themes in his music, was revolution, as we hear in this record. New York's radio station then.
WABC.
Time, time. This is your cousin Brucey.
New York's radio station now.
20940 for Al Salazar at the New York City Marathon.
Just for you, I have a $100 bill.
Let's do this for ABC, y'all. Come on.
Live on WABC, the Manhattan.
What a great radio station.
This is New York's radio station, 77 WABC. Mostly cloudy today with a chance of rain toward evening. High of about 50. Some rain tonight, maybe mixed with snow. Maybe completely snow inland before it ends tomorrow morning. Tonight in the 30s. Partial clearing, colder tomorrow, going through the floor, down to the teens by Thursday morning. Maybe snow flurries on Friday, clearing for a very cold, bitter cold weekend. It's 44 degrees and partly cloudy at WABC. I'm Dan Ingram, and when we go back, and as we have been doing all morning long and all through the night here on WABC with some of the music of the Beatles, and John Lennon in particular, there was one song that had an interesting story to it. It was one of the first songs. I remember seeing Hugh Downs on the Today Show play this song and likening it to the classics and saying that it was indeed written very directly in a modal form, very similar to classics, and he quoted which ones and all that. And I was astounded that he was surprised, because the Beatles did have musical training in the classics, and they knew what they were doing, and they wrote very well. This tune was written by John Lennon mostly about, oddly enough, him reading in a newspaper about a friend who had died. And Paul McCartney finished the tune. This is one of the tunes that they really did write literally together. This is A Day in the Life. There is precedent in the classics for that particular chord to go on for the several minutes it did on the recording. And it was the precedent that I believe Hugh Downs was talking about when he discussed that particular tune with John Lennon. It's time for more team coverage, and we'll have that coming up in just a minute. Right now, this word.
There's a fragrance that's here today, and they call it Charlie. A different fragrance that thinks your way, yeah, they call it Charlie. Kinda young, kinda now, Charlie. Kinda free, kinda wow, Charlie. Kind of fragrance that's gonna stay, and it's here now. Charlie, ba-doo-ba-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo.
Now the world belongs to Charlie by Revlon.
Come to find the beautiful fragrance of Jean II. Sensual, but not too far from innocence. Jean II, the beautiful fragrance. Sensual, but not too far from innocence. Jean II from Revlon. Wear it and be wonderful.
Celebrate Christmas with the fragrances of Charlie and John II from Revlon. Come and find Charlie and John II at Abraham and Strauss. It's time for more news on this day after the death of John Lennon. And, John Maher, have there been any new developments?
And Dan, some details are starting to come out about the man who's accused of murdering John Lennon in Manhattan last night. Police say 25-year-old Mark David Chapman is an unemployed security guard who came to New York City from his home in Hawaii a couple of months ago. The chief of detectives, James Sullivan, says Chapman lived in Honolulu with his wife. Chapman reportedly has been living in a Midtown Manhattan hotel since he came to New York. He's been in police custody since late last night after he ambushed John Lennon outside the Dakota apartment house on Central Park West. He'll be arraigned on a murder charge sometime this afternoon. Kathy?
John, over 1,000 Beatle fans gathered at the Dakota during the night as news of the Lennon shooting filtered out. They cried, they listened to news over transistor radios, they listened to Beatles songs and sang some themselves. We just got word from the landlord of the Dakota, where a couple of hundred fans are still gathered. The landlord tells us Yoko Ono has expressed her gratitude for the tremendous outpouring of grief over Lennon's death, but she asks now that everyone go home and let peace come back to the neighborhood. Peace is something both John and Yoko strongly advocated. Lennon's first single release, Give Peace a Chance, was recorded in a hotel room in Canada during a marathon bed-in the two were staging for the cause of peace. John?
Kathy, we could go to Moscow, we could go to East Germany, we could go to California for reaction, but in Providence, Rhode Island, we talked this morning with campus DJ Jay Riles at Brown University. We asked for reaction to the Lennon murder.
Just a total unbelievable shock, like a loss. How could this happen to such a great rock star? Why did they pick him out of everyone in New York City? There are so many people that are there. Why would such a lunatic just pick him? And it's a question that's going to gather people's minds for time on end. You know, why him? Why John Lennon?
WABC News Time 7:57, 44 degrees, partly cloudy in New York. Who was John Lennon and how did he relate to the Beatles? That story coming up.
The road to riches starts in the dime.
If you're in the market for a co-op apartment, here's important news. The Dime Savings Bank of New York has funds available for co-op loans. That's right, the Dime is continuing to make co-op apartment loans of up to $150,000. And you can choose between two types with terms up to 30 years. One is the Dime 5-year rollover loan with a preferential rate that's lower than a self-liquidating Dime loan. And loans of up to 75% of the purchase price are available. And the Dime assures you prompt action on your application. If you're sponsoring the conversion of a building to a co-op, Dime specialists will assist you in arranging a finance program for buyers. To learn more about the Dime co-op loan financing, visit any Dime office or call 212-643-7104. That's 212-643-7104. The Dime was an equal housing lender and member FDIC. As I alluded before, there are a lot of questions about who was John Lennon, how did he relate to the Beatles. Kathleen Maloney has more.
You could say John Lennon was the soul of the Beatles. Even though he shared top billing with Paul McCartney, it was clear that Lennon was behind the group's growth. Lennon was also the controversial Beatle. He always said what was on his mind. The Beatles' first manager, Alan Williams, says often Lennon was misunderstood.
He always came across, unfortunately, as aggressive and very abrasive, when in actual fact he was a, very, very sensitive person. But to hide this, it came out in sort of anger.
Lennon was philosophical, intellectual, and if you weren't up to his level, Williams says he had no time for you. It always seemed as if he were in a rush to get where he wanted to go. We asked Sid Bernstein, the man who brought the Beatles to America, if Lennon got there.
He saw the top of a mountain, but, it's so wrong. Millions and millions of people will miss him around the world. Millions of people around the world who themselves are in trouble will stop and pause and say, what is going on in civilized America?
Civilized America, where John Lennon fought immigration authorities so he could stay here. Civilized America, where John Lennon was gunned down last night outside his home by a man police describe as a wacko. John?
In other news, briefly, Fire Commissioner Charles Hines says he'll continue to send plainclothes inspectors to department stores and other public places. He says if violations are found, a warning will be issued, then a summons with fines of up to $500. Finally, Hines says the buildings would be ordered shut down. Police in East Farmingdale, Long Island, now believe that Hugh Ashford was killed by a man who'd been a patient of his and who shot and critically wounded himself a short time later. The 26-year-old chiropractor was stringing Christmas tree lights outside his home when he was shot 6 times from behind. Police have now linked 24-year-old Robert Cohen of Massapequa to the shooting. Cohen's in critical condition with what police say is a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head. On the WABC scoreboard, none of the local clubs was in action. In Monday Night Football, an overtime field goal gave Miami a 16-13 upset of the New England Patriots. WABC News Time, 7:01. The weather after Joe Nolan and Shadow Traffic.
Well, troops, still about a 6 if you're heading southbound on the Whitestone Expressway. We're sluggish around 20th Avenue to the Northern Boulevard interchange, averaging about, well, let's say we've got about a 1.5-mile backup coming on down through there. The westbound Grand Central Parkway is heavy from the Cross Allen to 168th Street and then again into Kew Gardens. The southbound BQE, about a half-mile delay into the Kosciuszko Bridge. The inbound LIE is slow from the Fairgrounds to the Elmhurst gas tanks, averaging about 20 miles an hour. The inbound Midtown Tunnel, heavy from Van Dam Street, lower level 59th Street Bridge. Very, very heavy. Use the upper if you're heading inbound over that span. The Harlem River Drive FDR combination southbound, extra heavy from the 130s down through the 70s. The West Side Highway is heavy from the George Washington Bridge down through the construction, then again from the low 70s to 56. Southbound Bruckner, heavy White Plains Road to the Drawbridge, and then that's about more than a mile now. Lincoln Tunnel has a 30-minute wait. Holland and the George Washington Bridge, about a 15-minute wait. And now they say the Bronx-bound Throgs Neck and Whitestone Bridges, both very, very, very heavy. So be ready for that if you're heading that way. Jersey Transit 618 Bayhead to New York, due at 8:24 is 10 late. 10-minute delays now on the New Haven of Conrail and the subway. Scattered 10-minute delays between Brooklyn and Manhattan. I'm Joe Nolan with Shadow Traffic for WABC New York, New York's radio station. And now here's Dan Ingram in the weather.
All righty, we'll catch you at 8:15.
All righty.
Cloudy today, chance of rain toward evening, high of about 50. Periods of rain likely tonight, possibly mixed with snow before ending tomorrow morning. Low tonight, 30 to 35. Partial clearing, turning colder tomorrow afternoon with a high of about 40. The outlook for Thursday, partly sunny, very cold for the weekend. We may have some snow on Friday. They say flurries, they don't know. And it's supposed to be clear for the weekend, evidently not enough to help the drought. We got 42 degrees right now. The temperature's been dropping all morning, and the weather's cloudy. It's a couple minutes past 8. Good morning to you.
Ingram, start your morning on WABC.
A lot of stories go with the Beatles records, and as we're reminiscing through some of the tunes that have touched us all, touched all of our lives, remember particularly the story about this song. They had an all-night recording session back in 1964, and Ringo walked into the studio and said, well, it's been a hard day's night. And this is the tune that came out of that chance happenstance.
It's been a hard day's night, and I've been working all right.
Hard day's night at 77 WABC. Coming up in just a minute from right now, we'll be talking with Bruce Morrow, Cousin Brucey, right here on WABC.
I don't care if you jog 5 miles a day or can bench press 200 pounds before breakfast. You're still not in the shape you were at 16. That's why the Levi's jeans that used to be so comfortable might not fit the same anymore. It's not just diet either. It's physiology. Time and nature have rearranged the way your body is distributed. Let's stop a minute. Look, I love to wear Levi's jeans, but I'm bigger in the thighs than I was as a kid. And I like a little higher rise than I used to. So now I get Levi's for men. Like the name says, Levi's for men are cut to fit men. I buy my regular size, but I get just a skosh more room where I need it. Great-looking styles, too. There's traditional jeans and plenty of Levi's newer styles. And they're all as comfortable as the old days. Listen, I gotta run. But if you want to get back into Levi's jeans, try Levi's for men and get comfortable again.
Okay. We're talking to Bruce Morrow right here on WABC. Bruce Morrow, who is the owner of WALL in Middletown, New York, who's home in bed with his wife. And Bruce, I understand you just heard the news about John
First of all, I'm glad you qualified that.
I qualified it?
Yeah, but with my wife, you said.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Oh, I'm sort of in shock, then. I tuned you in this morning, And,
You mean you weren't listening to your own radio station?
well, let me tell you, I went home last night, 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
I happened to be listening. I had tuned on to your radio station. I tuned on to, hey, listen, it's a habit that you grow into after all the years,
Yeah.
And I heard you talking about it. I heard you playing Beatle music, and I said, what in the heck's going on? And I heard you talking about it. So I'm sort of still in a state of shock.
Mm-hmm.
I feel terrible. I really did. Then I called Wall, and they gave me all the details. And I spoke to Jay Clark, and he told me that you and I were going to talk. So I'm kind of upset. I'm very upset about it. What upsets me is just about 2 weeks ago, I was talking to Sid Bernstein, and we were talking to John Lennon.
Yeah, that's your party.
When he came out of retirement, because there was an article in the Times, and I was very happy that after all these years that something was happening. Because I always said to Lennon that I felt he should not have retired. I never understood that, but he wanted his privacy, and he wanted the time to just be with his family and put his head together and his act together.
We were sitting around the studio just a little while ago, and we played that particular Aircheck of you and me and Scotzo at the hotel with the 10,000 kids in the street singing along with the jingles, which to me was the height of Beatlemania. Do you remember back to that day?
Oh, sure. They were standing outside the hotel.
Yeah.
Is that the one that we played the jingle?
And they sang along. You hung a mic out the windows, I recall.
And there was something like 6,000 kids out there with radios.
Yeah, more than that. We've had reliable estimates there were 10,000.
Oh, my goodness. Isn't that amazing? Well, I was never very good at math. I
just
sort of
rating numbers. That's
Jody, my wife Jody, we were just reflecting about how I felt about Lennon. And of all the fellas, we were very close with them, you and myself and Scott.
Yeah.
And I got to know him fairly well. We had a very big party at Central Park, if you remember that one.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the largest crowds estimated in Central Park congregated to see him, and I hosted the thing that time. We had a thing, I don't remember who it was for, but it was for WABC. We had it for, I think, the PAL or something.
There was a PAL, you're right.
And of all the guys, of the four of them, he was very private. He was outspoken, but very private.
Mm-hmm.
And very serious, and a very serious type performer. And all he wanted was the chance to express himself and do his own thing. And I guess this 5 years off gave him his happiness, bringing up his family, and gave him the time that he needed to just do his own thing. And I cannot understand how things like this happen. I just do not understand it.
Well, I think a lot of people feel the same way you do. Sid Bernstein said it earlier this morning. He said, what the hell is going on in this so-called civilized world?
It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy.
Bruce, thank you for talking to us.
Okay, Dan.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
It's 42 degrees under cloudy skies in New York.
Hello again, everyone. Howard Cosell, speaking of sports, brought to you by General Electric. I'm reporting from the Orange Bowl in Miami, Florida, where, in a second overtime game involving the Miami Dolphins this year, they reversed what happened to them when they lost to San Diego within the past 3 weeks by a score of 27-24. The final score on a Von Shaman field goal, Miami 16, New England 13. One hates to put the B on somebody, especially so fine a man as Ron Earhart. But the plain truth is, if one is honest in one's reporting, that Earhart played this game negatively. He played it not to win, but rather he played it tentatively, overcautiously, and in effect played it to lose. Thus, despite their almost total domination of the first half, they came up empty on a touchdown level and had to settle merely for 2 field goals. In the first half, they had 34 plays to but 14 for Miami, and they dominated possession time almost totally. Yet they came a cropper. They came up empty. And it was the way Earhart played. Everything on the ground. The game plan was clear. Perhaps not enough confidence in a mentally tough, fine young quarterback with a big future, Matt Cavanaugh, trained by the brilliant Johnny Majors at the University of Pittsburgh, and one had to wonder what would have happened if Majors had been coaching the Patriots last night. In any event, now New England must fight for its life for a playoff berth, with a team so loaded with fine personnel that it should have been a breeze for them. I'll be back in 60 seconds.
Fill your days with song, send a summer breeze. We turn your dark to light, we capture memories. We make you pretty, we make you smile. We bring good things to live in. We bring good things
GE, we're in the business of making products that make your life a little easier, a little better. And you know something? That's a pretty nice business to be in.
We bring you closer to the ones you love. We bring good things to live in. We bring good things to life. We bring good things to life.
Now back to the sports scene. These items in baseball. Houston traded third baseman Enos Cabell and a player to be named for San Francisco pitcher Bob Nepper and outfielder Chris Burgess. Houston also announced that they will not sign Joe Morgan to a 1981 contract. He's a free agent. This is Howard Cosell.